Mortgage demand plummets, home affordability for households craters, and interest rate uncertainty. Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. Thank you for your support. Today, I read several financial news articles. I've included links to the articles in the description below. I encourage you to read the articles to support the authors and news sources. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these articles that are of public interest. Today, I read an article on foxbusiness.com written by Megan Henney titled, "Mortgage Demand Plummets Again Despite Drop in Interest Rates." According to the author, the Mortgage Bankers Association's MBA index of mortgage applications fell 9.4% for the week ending December 29th, compared with 2 weeks earlier, according to new data published Wednesday. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when I first read this, I thought to myself the reason mortgage applications dropped was because of the holidays and because home sales are generally pretty slow during the winter months. In fact, I know of a real estate agent who would often take several months off in the winter and go to Florida because sales were so slow during that time of the year. Well, I was proven wrong as I continued to read this article. The author said housing demand remained muted even with the recent drop in rates. Applications for a mortgage to purchase a home dropped 5% from 2 weeks earlier. Application volume is down 12% compared with the same time last year. I was glad to see that the same time period last year was referenced in the article. A 12% drop in application volume compared with the same time last year is nothing to sneeze at. I'm really not surprised that mortgage applications to purchase a home have declined. We are in a much higher interest rate environment, which has put a lot of pressure on households and businesses. Some employees have seen their hours reduced. Some businesses have slowed considerably. A lot of people aren't making as much money as they once were. In addition to that, people are trying to figure out how to deal with the higher cost of goods and services in our economy. When you are struggling to afford life, you are less interested in going out and making what is often the biggest purchase in your life, which is a house. There are some people who are worried about keeping their job because of layoffs. People who are worried about the stability of their employment are also less likely to be interested in purchasing a new house. In my opinion, the higher interest rate environment is what has impacted the real estate market recently. Back when rates were in the low 3% range, many real estate agents didn't even mess with open houses because the property would sell within hours of it being listed online, often with multiple offers, people bridging the gap between the appraised value and the purchase price, people waiving inspections, and some people even writing love letters to sellers, telling them why their family really is the best fit for their home. We aren't seeing that anymore in most markets around the country. It's really pretty crazy to me that rates where they are today have cooled the real estate market so much. Rates were 2.5 times where they are today back in the 1980s. Think about where we are at today compared to some historical highs. Where we are today is nothing compared to October of 1981 when interest rates peaked at 18.63% according to Freddie Mac. Imagine the implosion that we would watch before our very eyes if interest rates hit 18.63% today. In our debt-based economy, where people and businesses are addicted to cheap money, we would likely see some disastrous consequences. There may be another reason that the real estate market has cooled so much in the past year. We have a smaller number of people who can afford the homes available because they simply aren't earning enough. I read an article today on ZeroHedge.com written by Tyler Durden, likely a pseudonym for writers at ZeroHedge, titled, "Average U.S. Household Can Afford Only Cheapest 16% of Listed Homes." The author of this article referenced Redfin data analyzed by Credit News Research, which revealed the average U.S. household can only afford 15.5% of the homes that went up for sale in 2023, the lowest on record. By comparison, the average household had the means to buy 20.7% of homes for sale in 2022 and over 40% before the pandemic. The author went on to cite Redfin data that showed the number of affordable homes for sale plunged to a record low in 2023, falling 40.9% to 352,500. Now you might be wondering, what does it take for a house to be considered affordable? Well, the author indicates a house is considered affordable if the buyer's mortgage payment is no more than 30% of their region's median household income. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is not good news in my opinion. With fewer U.S. households being able to afford homes, this means that some will have difficulty realizing the American dream of home ownership. Some will be forced to continue throwing money away on rent month after month and year after year. There are a lot of perks to home ownership. You can potentially build equity, benefit from appreciation over the long term, take advantage of tax breaks, build credit, and become rooted in a community. You also have more freedom in a home than you do in an apartment in many cases. Of course, there are some downsides to home ownership. You have to maintain the mechanical systems of a home, which costs money. When you rent, a landlord fixes everything. Some people have no clue how expensive it is to replace a furnace, an air conditioning system, a roof, windows, gutters, or even get the outside of the home painted. Many of these production-built homes these days have fiber cement siding, and unlike vinyl or brick, that fiber cement siding needs to be repainted eventually. Get a bid from a professional painter to repaint one of these homes. I think you'll be shocked how much it costs. I see a lot of painters driving around in very nice crew cab trucks. These painters aren't driving $80,000 trucks unless they are making decent money painting homes. Some people aren't prepared for the realities of home ownership. For those who are, there are a lot of upsides to owning a home over the long run. I hate to see home ownership being limited to fewer people in the new economic reality that we are all living in. So why is this all happening? In my opinion, the Federal Reserve kept interest rates too low for too long, and this overheated the real estate market. A lot of people went out and bought homes that wouldn't have historically been able to do so. Many individuals who already owned a home went out and speculated in the real estate market and bought homes to rent out. Some people used these homes for long-term rentals, while others decided to gravitate towards short-term rental platforms like Airbnb. Wall Street companies with access to cheap money went out and purchased a lot of properties to rent out. Some Wall Street companies with access to cheap money started getting involved with flipping properties. In many cases, single-family homes became a speculative asset, just like a stock on Wall Street. It is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out moving forward. I worry about some people who overpaid for real estate they could barely afford and now are grappling with the reality of how much money it costs to operate a home. Some people have seen their property taxes and insurance increase quite a bit, and they may be struggling to cover those increased costs. Some people who thought becoming a landlord was a get-rich-quick scheme are now realizing that it isn't so easy. It can often be quite frustrating to deal with tenants or deal with maintenance headaches on a regular basis. There are individuals who purchased properties to rent out on platforms such as Airbnb, and now they are dealing with high vacancy rates because the economy has cooled and leisure travel isn't as prevalent as it was in recent years. Some of these owners are also dealing with new laws which impact their ability to have short-term rentals. As I said earlier, it is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out moving forward. For those of you who think we will see lower interest rates soon and real estate will be even hotter than it was a couple of years ago, you may be interested in the information that I'm about to share with you. I read an article on yahoo.com put out by AFP titled, U.S. Interest Rates Likely to Stay High for Some Time, Fed Minutes. As per the author of the article, U.S. Federal Reserve officials expect interest rates will need to remain high for some time to tackle stubborn inflation, according to minutes of the most recent rate decision published on Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, I know the market is pricing in several rate cuts in 2024. Perhaps that will happen, but please keep in mind what the Fed says and what the Fed does is often quite different. Also keep in mind the Fed doesn't always have a crystal ball. The Fed told us that inflation was transitory. We all saw how accurate that statement was. The author of this article went on to discuss Richmond Fed President Tom Barkin. He indicated there was no autopilot and that policymakers would continue to be guided by incoming data. If we read between the lines here, he is saying there are no guarantees regarding rate cuts. In my opinion, the big elephant in the room is the election this year. What type of financial manipulation might we possibly see prior to the election? I know the Fed is supposed to be independent, but you have to wonder what happens behind the scenes sometimes. What type of political pressure is often put on the Fed, if any? I'm not saying this happens behind the scenes. I'm just saying it is certainly a remote possibility. The election could result in some market turbulence. I remember during the 2000 Bush-Gore election, there was the hanging Chad situation, and the market did not like that at all. I remember the daily volatility during that time period. In fact, the S&P 500 fell by 7.8% from election day 2000 through the year end. I think the election later this year is going to prove to be very, very interesting. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.